The termination letter used the word unprofessional 4 times. Elena Vasquez counted them on the bus ride home, her 7-year-old son Marcus asleep against her shoulder, his backpack on her lap, her cardboard box of desk belongings wedged between her feet. 4 times. As if once wasn't enough to make the point. She had worked at Greystone Marketing for 3 years. She had never missed a deadline. She had never been late on a deliverable. She had built 2 of their highest-performing client campaigns from scratch. She had also, on one Tuesday in November, brought her son to work because the school called at 7:15 to say the heating system had failed and classes were cancelled, and her babysitter was 3 states away at a family funeral, and the client presentation she had spent 6 days preparing was at 10 a.m. She had set Marcus up in the empty conference room with his tablet, his headphones, a sandwich, and strict instructions to stay quiet. He had stayed quiet. Nobody had even seen him until 2:30, when he wandered out looking for a bathroom and walked past the open door of the managing director's office. By 4 o'clock, Elena had a written warning. By Friday, she had the letter with unprofessional in it 4 times. The job search took 6 weeks. 6 weeks of applications and phone screens and explaining the gap on her resume with careful, measured language that didn't reveal how close to the edge she was getting. Marcus's after-school program had a waiting list for the subsidized spots. The full price rate was more than her car payment. She moved the numbers around in her budget every night like a puzzle with too few pieces. She got 3 interviews. 2 went nowhere. The third was for a mid-level content strategist role at a company called Bridgepoint Creative, smaller than Greystone, newer, but with a client list that had been growing fast. The hiring manager was pleasant. The interview went well. Elena was careful and professional and gave no indication that her entire financial stability was sitting in the waiting room of this conversation. They offered her the position on a Thursday. She started the following Monday. The office was open plan and slightly chaotic in the comfortable way of companies that were growing faster than their systems. Elena found her desk, set up her laptop, and spent the first morning learning names and workflows and where the good coffee was. By Wednesday she had found her rhythm. By Friday she felt cautiously, like she might be okay. Then the following Tuesday, Marcus's school called again. Not the heating this time, a water main. No school until Thursday. The babysitter was available but sick. Her mother was 2 hours away. The important meeting wasn't a client presentation this time but an internal strategy session that she was supposed to be running. Elena sat in the school parking lot for 4 minutes staring at her steering wheel. Then she drove to the office with Marcus in the back seat. She set him up the same way she always did, corner desk in an empty room, tablet, headphones, sandwich, instructions. She went back to her desk and pulled up her strategy deck and told herself she would deal with whatever came after it came. The strategy session went well. She ran it cleanly, hit every point, answered every question. When it ended she walked back down the hall toward the small room where Marcus was sitting. He was not sitting. He was standing in the kitchen area talking to a man Elena had not met yet, tall, somewhere in his mid-40s, coffee in hand, listening to Marcus explain, with great seriousness, why dinosaurs were actually more interesting than sharks. Elena's stomach dropped. She knew who he was. She had seen his photo on the company website. Daniel Holt, founder of Bridgepoint Creative. He was in the city for 2 days, the office had said. Stopping in briefly. Marcus, Elena said, her voice carefully level. Come here, please. Marcus looked at her. Then at the man. I was just telling him about the T-Rex. I know. She looked at Daniel Holt. I'm so sorry. I'm Elena Vasquez. I'm the new content strategist. My son's school closed unexpectedly and I didn't have. How old is he? Daniel asked. Elena blinked. 7. Daniel looked at Marcus. You said the T-Rex had the smallest arms relative to its body size of any predator. Is that true? Marcus nodded very seriously. Proportionally. Daniel nodded back, equally seriously. Then he looked at Elena. Can we talk in my office? He said. She sat across from him preparing for the second termination letter in 2 months. She had the speech ready, the apology, the explanation, the assurance that it would not happen again. She had learned from the last time not to cry in front of managers. Daniel set his coffee down. "I grew up in a laundromat," he said. Elena looked at him. "My mother ran it. Single parent, 3 kids, 0 childcare options. From the time I was 5 until I was about 12, I did homework on a folding table between the dryers while she worked. I ate dinner in the back room. I fell asleep on a pile of clean towels waiting for the last customer to leave." He paused. "I was that kid. The one who wasn't supposed to be there." The office was quiet. "Did it affect her work?" Elena asked carefully. "She was the hardest working person I have ever known," Daniel said. "And the most present parent I could have asked for, given everything." He looked at his coffee cup. "The people who would have fired her for it didn't understand what it actually takes to show up every day when you're doing it alone." Elena didn't say anything for a moment. There was something pressing at the back of her throat that she was working hard to keep in place. "The strategy session," Daniel said. "Reynolds told me you ran it. Said it was one of the cleaner internal presentations he'd seen this quarter." "Thank you," she said quietly. Daniel leaned back in his chair. "I'm going to talk to HR about a formal emergency childcare policy. We should have had one already." He picked up his coffee. "Your son is welcome here when you have no other option. Not every day, I want to be realistic, but when you genuinely need it, this should be a place where that's a conversation, not a firing." Elena looked at him. "I was let go from my last job," she said. "For the same thing." Daniel nodded slowly. "I know," he said. "It was in your reference notes. It's also why I wanted to meet you in person before making a hiring decision." He paused. "I wanted to see how you handled pressure." Elena absorbed this. "And?" she said. "You ran the session. You didn't hide. You didn't apologize before you'd done anything wrong." He almost smiled. "You handled it like someone who's used to figuring things out." Marcus fell asleep on the bus home that evening, the same way he always did, backpack on his lap, head against her shoulder. Elena looked out the window at the passing city. She thought about a woman in a laundromat. About a little boy doing homework between the dryers, waiting for the last customer to leave. About all the invisible people holding everything together in the spaces where the world wasn't watching. She put her arm around Marcus. He didn't wake up.